The morning sunlight fell softly over the small garden, where Huyen was hanging wet clothes under the bamboo line. The air was cool, carrying the scent of rain-soaked earth, and the sound of Maya's laughter as the little girl chased a butterfly near the pond. Dee sat on the porch, mending a broken basket, his eyes occasionally lifting to watch them both, the woman and the child, who had filled his quiet world with warmth. Everything felt peaceful, almost too peaceful. Then came the knock at the gate. It wasn't loud, but something about it made Dee freeze. He stood slowly, wiping his hands on his shirt, and walked to the front yard. Huyen turned her head, curious, a smile still on her lips. When the gate creaked open, Dee's heart stumbled. Standing there, beneath the morning light, was Lan, his ex-wife. Her hair was shorter now, her face pale but composed, and her eyes carried a sorrow that seemed heavier than time itself. "Hello, Dee," she said softly. "It's been a long time." For a moment, Dee couldn't speak. The memories rushed back like wind through dry leaves. Their marriage, the endless arguments, her sudden departure years ago, the long silence that followed. He had thought that chapter of his life was gone forever. But now, it stood at his gate, breathing. Huyen approached quietly, holding a small towel, unaware of who the woman was. "Dee, who is," she began, but stopped when she saw the look on his face. The air between them shifted, a fragile tension, pressing against her chest. Lan's eyes flickered toward Huyen, then to the little girl running in the yard. Her voice trembled. "So, this is your new life." Dee stepped aside politely, his tone low and cautious. "Lan, you shouldn't have come here like this." "I needed to," she said quickly. "I needed to see you, to tell you that I was wrong. That leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life." The words fell like stones in the still water of Huyen's heart. She stood frozen, her hands gripping the towel, unable to look away. Maya's laughter in the background faded into silence, replaced by the distant cry of a bird. Dee lowered his eyes. "Lan, things have changed. I know," she whispered, her gaze soft but desperate. "But some things, some people, we never stop loving." Huyen turned away, pretending to collect the dry clothes though her hands trembled. She could feel the weight of every word pressing on her chest, sharp and cold. That night, when the house grew quiet, Dee sat outside under the faint glow of the lantern. He stared into the darkness, listening to the rustle of leaves and the faint sound of Maya's breathing from inside. He knew the past had returned, uninvited, yet powerful. And though his heart had already found peace beside Huyen and Maya, part of him feared that peace would not last, because sometimes the ghosts of old love do not come to stay. They come to test what still remains. The next few days felt like walking on thin glass. Lan's presence lingered everywhere, in Dee's distracted gaze, in Huyen's quiet silences, in the whispers that passed through the village. Like wind through dry grass, Lan had not left after that morning. She stayed in a small guest house near the market, saying she only wanted to talk things through. But her sudden return had already unsettled everything. That evening, Huyen cooked dinner as usual, though her movements were slower than before. The soft crackle of the fire filled the air, along with the smell of simmering soup. Dee came in late, mud on his shoes, and placed his tools quietly by the door. "You didn't eat yet?" he asked gently. Huyen shook her head. "I waited for you." They sat in silence. Maya, sensing the strange heaviness, ate quickly and ran off to play with Baby in the yard. The faint sound of her laughter barely reached them. Dee lifted his spoon, but didn't taste the food. His mind was elsewhere, at the market, where he had accidentally seen Lan earlier that afternoon, standing near the flower stall with a white umbrella. She had smiled, a little sadly, and said she still remembered how he used to bring her jasmine tea every evening. Dee, Huyen said softly, breaking the silence. You don't have to explain anything to me. He looked up, startled. Huyen, I know who she is, she continued. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled slightly as she folded her napkin. And I know she came back because she regrets losing you. Dee tried to speak, but she shook her head gently. I'm not angry. I just don't know where I stand now. Her eyes glistened in the dim light, not accusing, not pleading, just tired. Outside, the night insects sang softly in the garden. The sound filled the silence between them, a fragile music that only made the distance feel greater. Later, when Huyen went to check on Maya, she found the little girl already asleep, clutching her small toy rabbit. The sight brought tears to her eyes. She brushed a strand of hair from Maya's cheek and whispered, Your world must stay safe, no matter what happens to mine. Meanwhile, Dee sat alone on the porch, the oil lamp flickering beside him. His thoughts were a storm, guilt, confusion, and the echo of a past love that had long since faded but refused to die completely. Lan's words returned to him again and again. We could still fix it. Dee, we could be a family again. He stared into the darkness, unsure whether the ache he felt was love or just the shadow of what used to be. And inside, Huyen sat by the window, watching the faint light that reached her through the cracks of the door, the same door that now separated them more than ever before. The morning sun had not yet broken through the clouds when Huyen walked to the river, carrying a basket of laundry. The mist rolled low across the water, and the air was cool against her skin. She needed the quiet, the sound of ripples, the whisper of bamboo leaves, anything to calm the ache that had grown in her chest since Lan returned. She knelt by the water, scrubbing gently, but her thoughts drifted far away. Every smile from Dee now felt heavier, more careful. Every silence felt longer. She could feel him trying to balance between two worlds, one of memories and one of fragile peace. Huyen. The voice behind her made her freeze. She turned. Lan stood a few steps away, her dress pale against the gray morning. She was holding a small bouquet of white flowers, her eyes soft but steady. May I speak with you? Lan asked. Huyen nodded silently, rinsing her hands in the water before standing up. For a moment, the two women faced each other, both calm, both wounded in ways words could never describe. Lan took a breath. I know you're a good woman, she began, and I can see that Dee cares deeply for you. But you must understand, I was his wife. We had a life together. Mistakes were made, mine. But people can change. Her voice faltered for a second, then steadied. I want to make things right again. I want my family back. The words struck like quiet thunder. Huyen didn't speak at first. She looked down at her hands, at the faint reflection trembling on the water's surface. I never tried to take him from you, Huyen said softly. When he found me and Maya, he was already living with loneliness. I never thought I could replace anyone. Lan's eyes glistened. But you did. Huyen smiled faintly, not proud, but sad. No, I didn't replace you. I only helped him live again. There's a difference. For a moment, neither woman moved. The river flowed between them, quiet and endless. Then Dee appeared at the edge of the path, his face pale when he saw them together. Lan, Huyen, what are you? Lan turned toward him quickly, her voice breaking. Dee, please, tell me you haven't forgotten what we were. Tell me you still love me, at least a little. Dee's breath caught. He looked from her to Huyen, who stood still but strong, her eyes filled not with anger, but with understanding. Finally, he spoke, his voice low but firm. Lan, I'll always respect the past we shared, but love doesn't live there anymore. Lan shook her head, tears falling. You're choosing her? After everything we had? Dee stepped closer, his tone steady but kind. I'm not choosing against you. I'm choosing for the life that keeps my heart honest. I can't rewrite what's already gone. Silence settled between them. The truth was cruel, but clear. Lan pressed her lips together, trembling. Then she turned to Huyen, and for the first time, her expression softened. Take care of him, she whispered. Better than I ever did. And with that, she walked away, her figure fading slowly down the misty path. Dee stood there, unmoving, until Huyen gently placed a hand on his arm. He turned to her, eyes filled with both sorrow and relief. She still loves you, Huyen said quietly. The sky cleared after the long, restless days. Sunlight filtered through the bamboo leaves, painting golden spots across the yard where Maya was playing with Baby. Her laughter filled the morning air, light, pure, and full of life, the sound that had always pulled Dee back from silence. Huyen stood by the kitchen window, watching her. The scent of boiling rice drifted through the air, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she breathed deeply without fear. The heaviness that had lingered since Lan's return had begun to lift, like fog dissolving after the rain. Dee came in quietly, his shirt slightly unbuttoned at the neck, eyes tired but peaceful. He leaned against the doorway, watching Huyen stir the pot. She left, he said softly. Huyen turned, her hand pausing mid-motion. Lan, he nodded. She took the early bus this morning. She said she didn't want to make things harder for anyone. A moment of silence passed between them. Then Huyen whispered, she still loves you. Dee exhaled slowly. Maybe she does, but what she loves is what we used to be, not who I've become. He stepped closer, his voice low and steady. And who I am now is because of you. Huyen looked down, her eyes filling. I never wanted to stand between anyone's happiness, Dee. I was scared of that, of being the one who ruined something sacred. Dee reached for her hand. You didn't ruin anything, Huyen. You rebuilt what was already broken. You gave me peace when I had none left. Tears fell silently down her cheeks, but her smile trembled into something real. Soft, fragile, and full of gratitude. Outside, Maya called out, Uncle Dee, come push my swing. He smiled, wiping a tear from Huyen's face. Let's go. They walked out together, side by side. The old swing creaked gently as Dee pushed Maya higher, her laughter echoing across the small yard. Huyen watched them, her heart swelling with quiet joy. It wasn't a perfect life, but it was theirs, built from honesty, forgiveness, and love that had learned how to stay. As the wind rustled through the trees, Huyen looked toward the horizon and whispered to herself, maybe happiness isn't something we take from others. Maybe it's something we protect, once it finally finds us. Dee turned, catching her gaze. Their eyes met, steady, calm, certain. In that moment, nothing from the past mattered anymore. What remained was simple and true. A man, a woman, a child, and the fragile, unshakable love that bound them together beneath the endless, forgiving sky.